Hi, my name is Mike Litwin. I'm the art director for East Magazine, and for the next few minutes, I'll be taking you through a very quick overview of how the cover art for our 2021 summer issue was produced. Now, sometimes we run into a story where we just can't get a photographer on site, and so instead we use a piece of art or an illustration. And to maintain the safety of our photographers and our interview subjects during the pandemic, our past few issues have had to rely on illustration more than ever before, and this issue was no exception.
Now, just like most creative projects, the first step is creating a concept sketch. I'm using a program on the iPad called Procreate, which lets me draw right on the screen like a digital sketchbook. And I use this not just to sketch out the idea, but also to rough in the basic colors. Now, our theme for this issue is Earth, so I wanted to create something that focused on rocks and soil, but also depicted growth coming from the Earth as well. I inserted the title and headlines from a previous issue so that I can also see how well this image will interact with all the type on the cover. The second step is to take this sketch into Photoshop to create a digital comp. This will give us a better idea of what the final will look like by putting together low-resolution graphics with the same tools, the same tricks, and the same program that will be used to create the final art. Stock photography samples are downloaded, and we begin planning the appearance of the final art by using Photoshop to mask out the images, stretch and warp proportions, and change the color and lighting to match the sketch. This is by far the most time-consuming part of the process because we want the comp to look as close as the intended final as possible, right down to planning the coloring on the magazine's nameplate. Once the comp is approved and we decide everything's good to go, the third step is to create the final art. Most of that process is done just by adding in high-resolution copies of the images that we selected from the stock photography site. The nice part about having the comp as close to the final as possible is that all the color adjustments and lighting adjustments have already been made, so all we really have to do now is place the high-res images into the layer stack, carefully mask them out, and warp them to match the same proportions as our comp. Now that the illustration is done, we're ready for our final step, which is to put it into text layout. Now, as you can see, I've planned for parts of this illustration to go behind the text and other parts to go in front. So this art has been prepared in separate foreground and background pieces. We start by opening up our weighting layout in Adobe InDesign, then placing our background image behind all the copy and our foreground image in front of the copy. Next, we change the coloring of the nameplate to match what we had planned in the comp, with a little help from Photoshop to create the glowing highlight we're looking for. After that, we insert the headlines provided by our editor into the areas already set up from previous issues. The last task is to add an effect to the main headline. If you remember back to the original sketch, there was a plan to add a shadow from the main headline. So now that we have it typeset, we go back into Photoshop, add that shadow into our art, and put a color gradient on the headline itself. And there you have it. That's our cover from sketch to comp, to the final image that shows up in your mailbox. We hope you enjoy reading our latest issue of East Magazine, and as always, go Pirates!